Kicking off the week with some big news out of Cincinnati as the Bengals, clearly inspired by bracketology yesterday, have decided that they're just going to put up basketball scores all of next season. And for the next 4 years as well, Jamarr Chase and T. Higgins both signing big-time contract extensions for the Bengals. Jamarr Chase, officially the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. He signs for 4 years, worth over $40 million a year, $161 million in total over those 4 years. And then the same exact night, re-signing T. Higgins to 4 years, $115 million. That's a decent chunk of change as well. As pointed out here on the cap hit on SportTrek.com, next year's cap hit for Cincinnati, wildly, $115.2 million for Joe Burrow, Jamarr Chase, and T. Higgins just by themselves. The entire Cincinnati defense combined, every single player, not just the starters, the backups, everything, every single player that plays on the defensive side of the ball combined, $79 million. The Bengals are paying 3 players on offense over $40 million more next year than the entirety of half their roster on defense. Truly wild when you kind of remember, too, that Super Bowl run and even the 2022 run they had where they got back to the AFC title game was kind of predicated on their defense coming through for them in a lot of scenarios. Big-time clutch moments throughout that postseason run. And Trey Hendrickson currently on the trade block because they informed him that they probably weren't going to be able to meet his demands and pay him, with Myles Garrett and Max Crosby both getting the big paydays, and he was looking to make something around that amount of money. And then he turns around and sees that they're going to give T. Higgins and Jamarr Chase all the money in the world. It certainly puzzles me at least a little bit. It's at least a little bit confusing considering, again, the season they just had where Joe Burrow led the NFL in touchdown passes, led the NFL in passing yards. Jamarr Chase was the Triple Crown winner. So in theory, you can understand why they'd want to secure those guys. But on the other hand, you had those guys doing all this, and you still missed the playoffs because your defense gave up the 6th most points in the entire NFL. So yeah, it's a bold decision to say the least, but Cincinnati locks up some more of their cornerstone offensive players, T. Higgins, Jamarr Chase. They're going to be around for at least 4 more years. We still don't know what's going to happen with Trey Hendrickson. A lot of other teams that are in need of pass rushers, hoping he gets traded. He's obviously led the league in sacks over the last 2 seasons. He's had 17 sacks back-to-back years. I mean, if there's a big part of their defense that they can rely upon, it's at least Trey Hendrickson getting some big-time devastating plays for some opposing offenses with his pass rush ability. They've at least got Logan Wilson locked up for a little bit as they got his contract extension done a year or 2 ago. So the leader in the middle of the defense locked up. But, I mean, at some point you're going to have to focus in on that defensive side of the ball and generate some help around him. And I mean, especially if you lose Trey Hendrickson, it's at the very least a deep pass rushing draft, so they might be able to get some help that way. But and then you think about the offensive line really still needs some help as well. They better hope that they're able to draft their way out of this issue in a hurry, because I think the financials are going to be tied up for quite some time, especially with T. Higgins' first 2 years of his contract fully guaranteed. Jamarr Chase, 115 of his 161 fully guaranteed. So it's not even like you can really move some of this off the books in a couple of years if you decide you don't like the deals and, release them or anything like that. This is going to be some money tied up for the next couple of years, and we'll see how it goes for Cincinnati. While that was happening, Houston locked up one of its cornerstone defensive players, Derek Stingley, able to come to terms on a new contract, 3 years, $90 million, makes him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. And I tell you what, and we can make this about the Bears once again, but that deal Ryan Poles got done just last offseason for Jalen Johnson, looking better and better with each cornerback that signs a new deal since. Jalen Johnson now officially the 10th highest paid corner in the NFL, despite being arguably the best cornerback in football last year. Certainly was the year before that, where he graded out on PFF as the highest rated coverage corner in the NFL. And you know what? Bears fans certainly appreciate that. But, yeah, as we were saying, Cincinnati locks up Jamar Chase, locks up T. Higgins. They'll be here for at least 4 years. Joe Burrow obviously going to be here. So those guys will be putting up some big-time offensive numbers for a number of years to come. Jamar Chase coming off 1,700 yards. Obviously, he and Higgins both double-digit touchdowns a year ago. Joe Burrow, nearly 5,000 yards passing, 43 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. Brilliant years from all of them. I think this is great news for you dynasty fantasy owners that have any of these Bengals players. I'm not sure, though, if you're a Bengals fan, you're feeling positive, you're feeling negative about this. I mean, obviously those guys are fun to watch, but you better hope that you guys can really, really draft on the defensive side of the ball. That's all I'll say about that. Yeah, not going to be too deep on the free agency pool toe dipping for the next few years, I have to imagine. So we'll see how they do defensively going forward with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase signed to these big-time extensions. That's all I've got for you here today. Let me know how you think Cincinnati's doing with the team roster construction here. You like it? You like the go-for-broke shootout mentality? Whatever that Bengals-Ravens game we got on Thursday Night Football last year, I guess they're just going to hope to replicate that 17 times next season, but hopefully win a couple of them. Yeah, let me know in the comments below your thoughts. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, signed for 4 more years, big-time extensions. They get paid. Jamar Chase, they made good with their promise. They said they were going to make him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. People were skeptical after Myles Garrett signed his big deal and got all that cash, but they did. They beat it out by just a couple of bucks, and Jamar Chase, the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. T. Higgins getting himself over $20 million a year as well, and of course Joe Burrow on his deal. The offensive side of the ball looking good for at least the next 4 seasons in Cincinnati, and now all the attention turns to what they can do defensively. I've been Aaron Feely once again, and we'll see you guys next time. Top 10 Tuesdays coming at you tomorrow. Stay tuned for that as we look at the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL today. Little tease for tomorrow's video, and I'll see you guys then.